Greetings, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Adam Locke, co-founder and president of the OptiMystics Citizens Action Network. I want to thank you all for being here again today for our monthly Vibe meeting. Vibe, of course, stands for very important business engagement. Of course, appreciate Rain Grooves, Stevie, Corey, all the staff for allowing us to host the meetings here. Thank you all. Wonderful. It's a great place to be.
Love you guys.
Talk real briefly about the OptiMystics, and then we're going to hear from our esteemed guest speaker, Rio Grande County Sheriff Ann Robinson. Thank you for coming.
Yes.
We appreciate you being here. And of course, it's bingo time. OptiMystics, we're the people behind the Monte Vista's Open for Business campaign that we did right after the COVID lockdown. We worked getting all the lighting fixed in the first part of Adams Street. Still a long way to go with that, but we're getting there. We organized the annual Cinco de Mayo celebration downtown. We're drawing 1,000 people or so during the week to a celebration here, so it's very encouraging. We're spearheading the creative bike rack project around town, and we put on the annual Beer Fest and Car Show out at Chapman Park. Of course, with 3 other nonprofits, we work with the Mystic Valley Art Council for the Halloween Festival last Friday downtown. Huge success. Very happy to work with all these other nonprofits to make this thing come together. We're also working with the SLV Fast Friends, this is a new endeavor, to host the Dragon on Dirt event that will be next June here out at the Movie Manor. By the way, we'll talk about the impact. They made an announcement and within the weekend sold out the entire Movie Manor. That's huge. There are some trifold flyers, of course, available on the table. Feel free to pick one up and learn more about what we do. Our website's full of information as well. And make sure you have registered, got your business card or a little card in. There are door prizes. Thank you, Marie, after our guest speaker. Of course, it's our intent with these meetings to bring business leaders, business owners, managers, potential business people all together. We want to be able to network and learn from each other and help each other and grow. And of course, we offer a short informational presentation as well in each of our meetings. At the end of the day, a lot of us are the backbone of the community. We're the small business, we're the people who are helping. So we think it's important to help bring all these people together so we can learn and grow in our town. Board members, anything to add?
I think you got it.
Wonderful. All right, well, without further ado, let me present this month's special guest speaker, Rio Grande County Sheriff Ann Robinson.
Good afternoon. I thank you all for allowing me to be here, inviting me. I appreciate it ever so much, especially this being an election year, because right now I'm appointed. For those of you that don't understand that designation, when the office is vacated at the sheriff's level, or for that matter, an elected official for the county, then the commissioners can appoint someone to fill that seat. Well, that happened to be me because they knew I was going to be the only one on the ballot, so it seemed like a logical choice, right? What that means for me is at the moment, yes, I'm in an elected position, but I am not the elected official, so the county commissioners can remove me if they choose to do so. I don't foresee that happening, but just so they understand the distinction, after I get elected, that I cannot be removed by the county commissioners. Anyway, a little background about me in case you don't know me. I grew up in a small town, Prospect Valley, on the eastern plains of Colorado. It's about halfway between Fort Morgan and Brighton. I graduated high school from Weld Central. I went to school at Fort Collins. My majors were accounting and business management. I delved into the cop world while going to school at CSU, and I was working for the University Police Department. I worked for the National Park Service. I took a job after that with Clear Creek County Sheriff's Office. I had to leave the state briefly after getting hired by the State Patrol. I'd been there for 9 years. I had to leave the state briefly because of a very tragic divorce. Anyway, I did come back to the state, but while working out of state, I worked for Valley County Sheriff's Office. Came back to work for the State Patrol. I had a total of 32 years with them. I am going on my 38th year in law enforcement as your Rio Grande County Sheriff. So with that, I am not done yet. Okay, I still have something to give, and I hope that I still have your support when we're done with these 4.5 years. My undersheriff likes to prod me and tell me that I'm going to be doing another 8. I told him I don't know if I have it in me, and I am training my successor. So that being said, there was some confusion on my part as to what I was supposed to be speaking to, so I hope to be able to cover both things. First of all, the challenges to law enforcement. I think you all see it on the media. where law enforcement officers are oftentimes crucified, or the profession. I will not tell you that we don't deserve it at times, because we have bad apples in the profession just as anybody does. Understand that I intend to do my job professionally, and I hold my people to the same level, okay? They will do things right, or they will not do them at all. We over the years had to adapt and change, and if you didn't, you fell behind and you were not successful in your job. Obviously, after 38 years, I like to think that I was able to adapt and change with societal expectations. I like to think also that my personal reputation has some value for the community, and that we're supported in our law enforcement profession, and we don't have as great a negative aspect here as we do across the nation. Places like Ferguson are extremely challenged in the support of their law enforcement professionals. I think as members of the community, we garner a little more support from our rural partners, and I see all my citizenry, if you will, as my partners, because I can't do my job without you. And much as the Palean principles say, we are the community and the community is us. I can't do my job without community support, so I hope we continue to have that. Messaging, I think it's extremely important to have open lines of communication, and this being one of them. So that being said, if there's ever any questions, I am more than happy to answer them, whether it's a legal matter, although I can't give you legal advice, or why we do what we do. I just ask that we have respect between each other when we have those conversations. So, we at the Rio Grande County Sheriff's Office suffer the same problem as everybody does right now, and that we are short on people. I am down 15 positions right now.
Oh, wow.
So it's a bit challenging, because we did take on Saguache County inmates because they did not have people to run the jail. I am sitting at a house that can hold about 49 to 53 people, and any given day I walk in the office door, we're between 43 and 47. So we are in need of expansion. And with that being said, we also have some challenges in maintenance in our house right now that are costing money, which I think in the long run, if we build a new facility, will be less costly over the long term. But that is something that we will have to explore and talk to the commissioners about, but we're already in those negotiations. So more on that later. I think the reason why we're not getting applications is partly the people just don't want to work, because like I said, across professions we're all facing the same thing, that we don't have folks applying. I see a business owner nodding her head. How do we fix that? Folks, I'm going to go out on a limb here as a personal matter and just say I think we engendered people not to work because we supported them when they weren't, and they continue to enjoy that support from government. I think we need to get people back to work to support a healthy economy, and that goes back to our business owners. In other words, people spending money locally plus having the job to feed the economy by coming out and purchasing those goods or services. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. But with the negative reputation that law enforcement has in the media right now, I think that makes us suffer exponentially by not getting applications, because nobody wants to do the job. The way I have to attack it, and have had a certain measure of success, is that I have to say, okay, what is a priority to these people? What's important to them? What are their values? And spin my message as how law enforcement meets that need. So a lot of folks in the previous generation, it was being a change agent. Now I've got a generation coming up, because I just went and talked to the high school here a couple weeks ago, and I'm seeing, and I have hope, that these kids are watching the media and they have immediate information. Okay? They're watching the media, but they know that's not the whole story. The story is sensationalized so that people watch that venue. What I'm hearing from these kids now, young adults, is that they want the whole story. So they're out there researching it, and they're getting all the information before they make a decision. They're not being as judgmental. So what my hope is maybe we can target them with the ability, as a law enforcement officer, you're digging for information to make those charges. So if that's what fascinates you, here we are. So I hope that helps you frame maybe the way you draw applicants as well, as based on the experience that I've had. So, going to business safety. I think you guys probably understand some of it, but I'm going to throw a few things out there to help you keep your environment, the business that you own or operate, safer. The first thing is look for the physical risks. What are the hazards in your building approaching your front entrance? Do you have maintenance issues that might need improvement? And that goes back to safety, okay? The other part is the human risk. Do you have an employee coming in under the influence of drugs or alcohol? Are you able to recognize that? What is your prerogative as a business owner or a manager when you have someone like that? Do you have policies in place? Those are things you need to look at, because that goes back to if somebody gets hurt or injured on the job, now you have a workman's comp issue, plus you may have an OSHA violation. So just things to consider. Technological risks, be it cybersecurity issues. How many folks have been hacked? How many Facebook pages have been hacked lately that you've seen, and even more than once? Okay, what are you doing to train your employees on the use of a computer while in the workplace, or even yourselves and your awareness of how these folks get access to your systems? Do you have sufficient firewalls in place? All things to consider. I went to a training class, a gentleman by the name of Gordon Graham. He was a California Highway Patrolman. He retired. He started a business. It's a risk management business. And his favorite saying, as he blows a train whistle, is if it's predictable, it's preventable. The best thing you can do is look forward and say, okay, I noticed this. What can I do to mitigate this risk? Instead of saying, oh, I knew that was going to happen, and you did nothing about it. That becomes a liability, right? Yeah, you're laughing. So part of that comes back to your assessment, but also training, okay? At the end of the day, are you doing a walkthrough of your business and making sure all the doors are locked, the windows are closed, your system, your burglary system is activated? Cameras are huge. We're finding that courts really like the video, but the problem is that sometimes they're only seeing a small component of the total video, but that sways them in their decision. What I would recommend to you is that you have a looping video that stores a certain amount of your data or stores it somewhere else and then starts over again, but you have to have that video because sometimes it's one person's word over another. So that's kind of quick down and dirty. Do you folks have any questions of me? What's going on in my world right now? Or is there anything else I could speak to for you? Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a security system or maybe one or two that you would recommend?
I cannot recommend any one manufacturer or provider over another. I cannot do that in a public office.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I appreciate the question, but there are several good vendors out there. I just recommend maybe talking to your peers, seeing what they provide and what fits your need, because obviously as you add more items to that and its capability, the price goes up. So itemize what it is you need, do a needs assessment, and then go to the providers and say, what can you do for me in this regard? Sometimes they will tell you, if they act interested and they're giving you information on what's available and maybe what they're seeing as a possible other need, maybe it's something you didn't think of, they're probably a pretty good provider versus that guy that goes, yeah, I can give you that, here's the price.
Okay,
Okay?
that's great.
Yeah, engagement's huge.
Just telling us what to look for
Yep.
in a provider
Yep.
is helpful.
And I will tell you that's been my personal experience, is that person that is engaged, that's going to come out and demo the product, give you a presentation, look at it and say, okay, did you consider this? We have this to offer, this is a package, or, you know, based on what you're telling me, I see that maybe you might need this other thing, or you may not need this at all. The people that are engaged usually provide a better product and customer service. Everybody pretty much has the same technology, it's the customer service that's going to make the sale.
Well, you've just rephrased the question. What do you have at your house?
The world may never know, but it is on video. My current landlord provided that. He is an IT expert. So, yeah, I will give you his name and number if you want to call and ask him.
What do we do if we suspect that we're being given counterfeit money? How would we recognize it? And what do we do with the customer standing right in front of us?
Yeah. So if they're standing right in front of you, I would make sure that you try and get as good an image of them as possible. Obviously, we don't want to create confrontations, and people are more and more violent these days. So if they suspect that you suspect them of something, sometimes your actions trigger a response. So it may not be worth it to take the pen and mark it, hold it up to the light and all this other stuff while they're standing there. Hang on to the bill. I would take it by a corner because obviously sometimes their fingerprints may transfer if you want to go that far. But being able to identify them is huge, that they passed it. It's kind of fun sometimes. I'm not going to recommend this, but I can get away with it because of who I am and my profession. But I'll start talking to them saying, you know, we've really had a problem with some counterfeit bills lately. You know, how do you feel about that? Oh, it's okay. They're just trying to get along. Oh, you're a problem. You're a problem. Okay? So, yeah, but I mean, if you're comfortable with them standing there, that you do, like the larger bills, look at them and look for that, I call it the silver stripe or the watermark or whatever, mark it with the pin. By all means, that's your prerogative. But if you're not comfortable with them standing there trying to look for those counterfeit bills, hang on to it, set it aside, do whatever you need to do. Handle it as little as possible, get a good image of them or a good description. If you have any other way of getting identifying information like an address or phone number or whatever, obviously if they're paying cash, you're not going to have a credit card receipt or anything like that. But if you suspect someone, and we have to be careful because different credit card companies have different contracts, but if you suspect someone of passing a stolen credit card, it's not signed or whatever the case may be, sometimes if it's not signed, I'll ask them for an ID. Okay, you didn't sign your card, so I don't know that this is you. Do you have an ID? Oh, I don't have it with me. I can't accept this. Whatever that looks like for you. Again, it's a whole comfort thing, and it's based on the contract with the different credit card companies as well. Sometimes they may void your ability to accept their card if you're asking for identification when they don't allow that. Yeah, it's interesting. Read your contract with the credit card company.
If we get a counterfeit bill, that calling you after the fact is still okay.
It's still okay.
We don't need to start a conversation.
Well, and the thing is this is kind of slick. If you get paid a $100 bill and you're comfortable with them standing at the register, lock the register and say, you know what, I don't have change right here for this. Let me go back. Call while you're back there. Hang on to them. If you can hang on to them by any covert means, and you feel safe doing that, I'm not going to direct you to do something you don't feel comfortable with. Like I said, people are more and more violent these days.
Would that be the same, should somebody bring in something that you suspect is stolen and they're asking for either of you to buy it, or we get this in our shop from time to time, somebody will bring in a piece of jewelry or something and...
Talk to them about it. Hey, what's the history on this item? Can you tell me a little about it?
What would be...
I will tell you that 911 in Alamosa takes texts.
Do they?
Yes, ma'am. So if you can get on your phone and do that, 911, send your text.
Okay.
Text to 911.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it will recognize.
And
Yeah.
it'll come in and I can just say, hey, there's
Matter of fact,
somebody
I
else.
can test that right now, and I will just tell them this is a test from our GSO, but they told me they were live with 911 text.
Okay,
Yeah.
good to know.
Yep.
Because I didn't know what in the world to do about it.
Send
But
somebody
if
else.
you-
We need to make a signal.
If you
amongst
think
all of
that
our
it is
businesses
counterfeit,
that we can give somebody else to
and it just
go,
seemed about Katie,
well, I'm
someone
not
comes in to buy a $10 item, and $100 bill, she's giving them back $90. That's her loss.
We're not the customer
So
today. Here,
how do you
have a
exactly
picture.
just say, I want your money?
Just say, I can't break this bill.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't break this bill.
I would just, we generally, if somebody comes in with a big bill, I know sometimes we miss it if we're really busy, but we've got those pins, I don't care, I mean, they do it when I go to the store and use a 50 or 100, they'll use the pin and check it right there. So we just make sure to, use the pin, check it. If it's not good, I'm probably just gonna tell the customer, I'm sorry, this bill isn't good, we're gonna need, and I can't give it back to you, I can't tell at that moment if, I don't know if so many people are dealing with cash, especially vendors and stuff. You don't know if somebody's cashed you a bad 20 and you're at a bin show and you turn around and go get food. You shouldn't be like the police beating down on you, but, so I'm not liable to jump on somebody right away if I suspect that, but I definitely would check them.
When I worked at the camera store, it was like our policy to check anything over 50.
I would do 20s now too, for sure, because I know that
We
20s
got
are
one the other day that was a $5 bill.
I was gonna say, I
really?
heard fives are going
Because you know what? They're getting good cash in return for this 100 they just passed you.
Yeah,
So,
so you need,
And
we
at the
just
camera
generally
store, we
check.
had a fake one, and I think the person that gave it to us, I really think they didn't know.
That's what
I
I'm
think
saying,
they came
sometimes I
across it
think
at
you
some
can,
point,
you
and
can
yeah.
kind of tell, I would think. I mean,
It's
like
like
I
a
said, when we've had people bring in, A couple times we've had like pieces of jewelry brought in where we really suspected
It works, folks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just sent them the message, RGSO test for Monte Vista business owner meeting, wanting to know if it works. They said we got it.
Okay, so
And it was a matter of, it was instantaneous. Same time, 12:42. Make sure you have your cell phone with you. Because I mean, how many times are you talking to somebody? These people get used to you talking to somebody and you're on your phone.
Yeah.
911 on your text, enter your text, send it.
Perfect.
Okay?
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah, they told me a couple months ago that it was like.
Situations, I think.
See, and here we go back to that whole messaging thing. This disappoints me that you folks didn't know about it. I don't recall seeing an article on it. So, yeah. So that may be something when I walk out is I will get a hold of the regional communications supervisor and just say, hey, these folks had no idea that you were live, so you need to tell them. Get it out there.
That's huge.
It's an
Because if you're
article
afraid,
already,
you
isn't
don't
it?
want to.
Well, and that's where it came up was obviously most of our regional communication centers are run by the state patrol. So what kind of things are they dealing with? Kidnap people, people in an assaultive situation, domestic violence. So they were wanting, rather than having to make the phone call, a means of picking up those 911 calls that the person's not placed at risk. So this was a fix, the text.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So here we go again, back to all those relationships. I will just say that we entered into an agreement with Monte Vista Police Department to help cover each other because we're all short on officers. So their agreement was that they can respond 6 miles out of town to help us when we have a call that we may be in South Fork. Then if it's a hot situation, they come stabilize it until we can get there to take care of it. We will do the same covering them when they are short an officer on a shift. So we have to be a force multiplier for each other. We have to come up with new ways of doing business because we don't have enough people.
Is there some?
Go ahead, ma'am.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Is there something we can be doing as community members to
Put the word out. Law enforcement is direly in need of folks to work. And if you expect your call to be responded to and handled in a timely manner, if you know folks looking for a job that has benefits, good pay, different shifts, excitement, whatever that may look like that they would be interested, tell them to apply as long obviously as they're not convicted of a felony and stuff like that. So, yeah. I'm just saying. So, yeah, but that would be the help.
Okay.
Explain to a man how difficult it is to run a jail.
The jail is my biggest liability, okay? So I am responsible to take care of a house full of inmates who are probably not well behaved to begin with. So it is a challenge to keep them calm so we don't have further issues in the jail, them fighting or bringing in illegal substances, whatever that may look like, being creative and making their own hooch. So we have to provide for their medical needs, we have to provide them food, we have to provide them a place to sleep, obviously to use the facilities and recreational time. We have to give them a law library. We have to provide for all these things when we're outnumbered like 22 to 1. Okay?
Wow.
And they demand a lot of things when they're in there. They have nothing but time on their hands. So I've tried to be a little creative to keep them occupied so they're not thinking of ways to try to escape or harm each other or any of my DOs. I will tell you, because it's going to be out there, we are the first facility in the state of Colorado that offers our inmates nicotine pouches. Okay? I cannot introduce tobacco into my jail, but nicotine pouches so far have not been included in the tobacco law. Okay? So they are able to purchase nicotine pouches off a commissary. It's a double-edged sword. Okay? I don't like to see people addicted to things. They came in addicted, but the second part of it is with us being outnumbered like that and the house that we're running, I have to try and keep them calm. If the nicotine pouches help because they have something that they can do other than sit there and think of all these nefarious things, then I will provide them. Okay. We also, along that same line, introduced some support to them for addictions. So they can talk to somebody. We will give them Narcan upon checkout from the jail, things like that. And I don't want to support their continued use of things, but there are only a limited number of things that I can do to help them in that regard. So,
do we have, what do we have for addiction services here in the valley?
oh, I knew something was going to. It was San Luis Valley Health something. I will have to go back to the office and find the name of the group, but we visited the other day, and I've got her name in my phone. They are going to start provide addiction counseling to our inmates. They were already providing it to Saguache, so these are things we get exposed to and realize that they're available as we talk to other people. And so she's coming in to provide those types of counseling services. Plus, they will provide us the Narcan backpack, she called it. So when they check out of the jail, they will give them the Narcan. In case they do overdose, they will have another chance at getting off the stuff, is the way they look at it. My question is how many times do we provide them that before we get the message that maybe they're not going to recover? And I'm just asking a hypothetical question or a rhetorical question. So, let's see here. See if I can come up with the name of the group that we're working with.
Is it the behavioral health?
I think something along those lines. Let me find her name here. SLV Health Education Center. Yeah.
If you can say, what's the crime that's happening the most right now?
So here's my concern. Rio Grande County is rated as one of the worst counties for crime. Okay, Colorado has the dubious honor of being in the top 10 in crime statistics in the nation. So right now, I think a lot of our issues that we're seeing are a subset of our drug problem. Right now, opioids are huge. Heroin is the biggest issue we have in the San Luis Valley.
More than that?
More than meth. It is extremely popular. Everything that we're coming across with, it's not to say there is not meth use or cocaine or whatever, but heroin is the top. And I will tell you that people's need to obtain that drug drives the other crimes. Okay, the burglaries, the thefts, the assaults. I will tell it, in my humble opinion, and it's probably based on some statistical truisms, that heroin drug use is driving these other crimes. So when I took office, my goal was to start drug investigations and going after the players that we know exist and building the case against them and going to get search warrants. So far, we've been in support of Monte Vista when they go do some of these search warrants. We will have our own, but I will tell you, I just submitted an intergovernmental agreement to the DA's office for us to have a major crimes task force in the valley. So we're getting there.
Wow.
We're getting there.
That's awesome.
Is there have any of I know you're just Rio Grande, or is there any discussion about is there any youth programs to maybe catch our youth before they pick up an addiction?
We have a DARE program in Sargent School. It's actually becoming more popular. It seemed to have waned for a while, and now DARE is coming back. Dave Lanford is my SRO at Sargent, and he is an instructor for the DARE program, and he has been very active. Week before was Red Ribbon Week, but he is providing DARE education to our youth. There are some other groups out there who do education. Everybody remembers the saying about idle hands or the devil's workshop?
Absolutely.
There you go. Again, a personal opinion.
Okay.
But I think these kids have too much free time on their hands, and those things are too attractive to them.
I agree. That's
Okay.
why I was asking some questions.
It frustrates me to no end when I see a young lady that I've known her parents for years, and I've known her since she was this tall, got addicted to heroin, and as soon as she got out of a rehab center, went to a cemetery locally and shot up again and dang near killed herself again. So it has a terrible hold on people, and it is a struggle to get off of it, and how you sell to them to recover is a difficult sale. So I agree, catch them early, educate.
It's hard.
It's a societal failure.
It's hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
much as our mental health system is a societal failure. I have people in my jail that don't deserve to be there. They need help from somewhere else. And that's not the best environment for them to recover. So I think I probably used up my time.
A lot of questions. Sorry to ask you. No, you're good.